how has your sexuality changed over time?
That is a great question. I so I knew that I was like queer in like middle school, and I was first like I'm bi, and that sort of changed into over time, and around like ninth grade, I came to the conclusion that I was not bi, I was gay, and I was a gay man, boy, twink thing. Um, and then that still didn't really feel right. I think that I took a lot of comfort in being able to express my femininity through my queerness and through my gayness. And so I liked that about it, and I liked getting attention and validation from men, um, and that felt really good. But it never felt super fulfilling, and it didn't feel like a full representation of like who I was or who I wanted to be and how I wanted to exist in the world. Um, and so in college, after freshman year, the summer after freshman year, I started to realize that that label was not working for me, and that actually like I felt the most myself when I was doing drag and like wearing more feminine clothes and wearing dresses. I cut my bangs. And well, like when I cut my bangs, I was still like, I'm a twink. I wasn't super conscious of my transness then. And there had been points in my life where I had been like conscious of my transness, and then those sort of became disrupted by like traumatic experiences and like dissociative things that made me sort of repress it and forget it, and not feel like I could acknowledge it to myself. But then that summer after freshman year of college, I realized my transness and I started transitioning. I started using she her pronouns, um, and at this point I was still like, I'm only attracted to men. And for the early part of my transition, the idea of being attracted to or dating or having sex with anyone other than a man felt really scary to me, because I think I think that this experience is common to a lot of trans people, but I also think there's something about it that is specific to like trans femininity, and like AMAB trans people. Oftentimes, when trans femmes are, I think that oftentimes trans femmes sort of have two avenues or two like stereotypes or archetypes that people perceive them as, and those are like the sex object or the predator. And I was much more okay with being seen as a sex object and like not a person than I was like a predator. Um, and like the idea of being seen as like anything threatening or predatory or violent just felt so scary. And I felt like if I dated anyone other than men, that's how I would be seen. So I was very, very, very scared of that and did not want to feel like that. So instead, I focused my transition on being as femme as possible, having as much sex as possible, um, and like seducing as many men as possible, because it made me feel powerful, but it also made me feel like safe. Um, and then, so that was sort of like how my early transition went for the first like year or 6 months or so. And then this year, sort of starting, I guess over quarantine, like right before quarantine and then going into this year, I realized my like sapphicness, and I realized the beauty of like T for T relationships, which is trans for trans. Um, and now I generally am attracted to everyone except cis men, and will date anyone other than a cis man, which is such a reversal. And like I call myself a dyke. I like feel very much, I feel like a lesbian. I don't necessarily always feel like a part of the lesbian community, because I think that that can sometimes be very exclusive. But I think the most accurate description for my sexuality now would be sapphic. And I think that that also changed while I was on hormones. It changed because of my like positionality in the world. It changed. I think that sexuality can change and it can be influenced by a lot of different factors. And that doesn't mean that someone can't be like born the way that they are and that's who they are for the rest of their life. But I know that that wasn't my experience at all.